Hello everyone, and welcome back to Secondhand Sellers.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Klayton. And today we're going to be talking about the conflict of offloading your merchandise at the lowest margin possible just to get it out of your stock.
Obviously, this is not our goal as resellers. We don't want a low margin, but sometimes
something's just been sitting on the shelf for too long, or it's just mainly cluttering up a space.
Yep, sometimes you regret the purchase you made. I've done that.
And you gotta recoup your funds so you can turn that into other viable options that you know you're going to hit consistent profit on. So, what do you have as an example?
Okay, so as far as offloading items for cheap, before I give an example, I want to talk about why I might do this. So, like you said, it's primarily because it's been sitting there for a long time, which is less of an issue for my sister and I, because we just started this in April, so we're not even, at the year mark yet. But there are still some things that have sat around for a long time that we've wanted to get rid of. But also things that maybe we have hit the profit point on, and there's some left over. So for my example, I think I've mentioned this in our videos before. My sister and I bought a large lot of typeset blocks, like letterpress typeset blocks. And we list them. We try to get a decent price for the ones we've listed. But at this point, if somebody gives us an offer on it, take it. We are not picky at all at this point because I think we've doubled our money on this at this point. So anything we currently have listed, we still have some of the blocks listed. We have a few that in here that we're going to lot up just because they're not prime blocks. Like maybe their condition isn't great, or they're like for a local business that isn't super desirable in general. We intend, and we haven't yet, but we intend to just lot them up and put a cheap price on there and just take whatever and get them out of our hair.
Yeah. And by that point, especially when you've already doubled your money off of specific individuals, and we go back to that squeezing every penny out of something, how much more of a profit can you clear if you did sell each item individually? Maybe, $2 or $5 per item, but by the amount of time that you've invested into it, listing every single one and taking the time of storing it for months upon months upon months, because it's not like each one's going to fly off the shelf over the course of days. By bulking the rest of them up just to get it out of your hair, it saves you that much extra time.
Yeah, and when I say we've had them, that purchase was the one that sort of started this. We had decided it's cool. We each took a few from the collection and decided we were going to try to sell the rest. And that kind of was right around the time we started the eBay. I may have even kind of spurred the idea of becoming resellers and sort of solidified it. And so at this point, it's like we're in pure profit. If we get $2 off something, we get $5 or $10 off it, excellent. It's just adding to the profit that we've already got. Now, when we first started that with those, obviously we would take offers, but more judiciously, more concerned, because we were looking at recouping. I mean, it wasn't an insignificant purchase. We bought hundreds of blocks plus a couple of typeset drawers. We spent together over $200 for this. And so we wanted to make sure we got that money back. But as soon as we hit the profit point, it was like, okay.
You let it go. Let it go. You just to get more profit, because by that point you cleared it, but also just so you can move on to something else.
Yep. What about you? Do you have an example, or do you have a different reason why you might do this?
So a lot of times when I list items on eBay, I will compare my item to other sold listings. For example, recently I picked up a pair of shorts. Paid $1 for them. They still had the tags on them, brand new. Other sold listings that were pre-owned were selling for about $15-$16. Okay. So I went ahead. I could find no sold listings of it brand new, so I'll list it brand new, or I'll list it at $16 because it's brand new, but I want to get it sold because I only have $1 into it.
So you don't even try to go up.
I could go up more. And I was technically going up by a little bit because the one that we're selling pre-owned was doing $16 free shipping. I like to charge my customer shipping. So I said 16 plus shipping because thinking somebody might come along and go, that's a great deal. And what ended up happening, they sat for 2 months.
Really?
They've been sitting there for ages.
When did you list it though?
Middle of summer.
So it was peak summer.
Yeah, it was like late June late July or early August.
Okay.
They've been sitting there for ages, and I've been getting views, nobody watching them, nobody making offers, and recently I dropped it by $1 because I just occasionally will go through if something has sat for too long. I'll drop things by $1 or $2 depending on how much it is.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody came along, made me an offer, and it was $9, and it's like I could take $9.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a substantial discount in comparison to what I have it listed for. But I ended up making a counter offer. I think it was $10 or $11, just as a sure I can sell it for $9, but how about this?
Mm-hmm.
Meet you in the middle. But the only reason I did that, just to get it out of my inventory. Because if it was if I had listed it like in spring, pair of shorts, or early summer, it's brand new, never been used, still have the tags on them. If somebody slapped me with a $9 offer, nah, forget you, or I'm gonna, move on to something else. But just to move it because we're moving into fall now, it's October.
And that's a lot of the country is getting cool.
Yeah, just to move it, sure. How about 11, move on with my life, get it out of my inventory.
Did they take it?
Yeah, they did,
nice.
Thankfully.
So you made about as much as the people who were offering 16 plus free shipping.
Yeah, basically.
It's a bummer because it was new, but you had $1 in it.
Yeah, I had $1 into it. So realistically, I 90% profit or after fees or whatever. But realistically, I could have sat on it and said, no, these are worth 16. Let's get 16. But how much longer was I going to sit on that? Yeah. It had already been up for 2 months.
Do you want to sit on it for 6 months?
No. So
I think thinking about seasonality, that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. We're coming into holiday times, so fall items, Halloween items, Christmas items. Are you going to want to sit on them for another year? Yeah. Probably not.
Probably not. Especially with how often you can get holiday items year-round. Like, you can go to so many estate sales and garage sales and get as many Halloween and Christmas decorations as you can hold for dirt cheap.
Yeah. Decorations aren't exactly in short supply.
Yeah. But they have a great resale value. And if it's October, so go ahead, get listed in those Halloween items, but also consider listing those Christmas items because people start shopping for that now. Yep. It's like the store already has wrapping paper and Christmas trees, and it's like...
It's so crazy. It's not even consistently like 50 degrees here. Yeah, and it's...
And
not ready for Christmas.
Yeah, people jump the gun too soon, but by you taking advantage of other people jumping the gun, even if you think, wow, it's too early for Christmas decorations, you're going to get some sales.
I think, too, when you think of something like Christmas especially, as a holiday... People have gift buying and parties to go to and things to do in December. And so even if they don't put up their tree till Thanksgiving or later, or, their decorations or whatever, that might not be the prime time for them to shop for decorations. Yep. Because they know they have 15 other things to be worried about at that time. So some people might be looking now or to stretch their budget because they know they'll need to buy throughout the season.
Yeah, buy the Christmas gifts or the food or who knows what else.
Lots of reasons why people might buy their decorations early. So, I'm trying to think. Do you have any other examples that you want to? There was one other thing. There's another prime reason why I might sell something, and I mentioned it earlier, and why I might sell it cheap. That is, and that is if I regret buying it. Yeah. And when I first started a handful of months ago, I was a little overzealous on some stuff, and I picked up a few things that I really, after I got them home, I'm not super glad that I did it. Even though I didn't pay much for them, it was still just like, why did I do this? And so there was one thing, and we have our next segment. I will come back to this, but I bought a bunch of VHS tapes. They were mostly Disney VHS tapes, and I very quickly after I grabbed them, I got them at the bins. I did not pay much, quarter piece, and I wish I had not done it. And
you got
so,
those black diamonds, right?
Some of them. And I wish I had not done it. And so when push came to shove, I just was ready to, and they take up a lot of space too.
Yeah.
And I was just ready for them to leave. And as long as I got my money back, that was my main thing. So yeah, either regret or it's sitting around too long, or I've hit the profit margin and it's just not worth it to wait, in my opinion, then off it goes.
Because your time invested is not just the time that you have getting it, cleaning it, listing it. It's also your time storing it. And the longer you have it around, and moving it around, rearrange. And the longer you have it on your hands without it actually turning around, is the more money it's costing you.
Yeah, and it costs you the initial investment too. You can't get the initial investment back until you
get rid of it. Yep.
So it's tying your money up.
Yep. Because let's say you still had those VHSs and they're sitting on the shelf, you can't put something else on the shelf there. So that's basically what it boils down to. Things out, things in, or other way around. Things in, things out. But sometimes you just got to cut your losses.
Yeah, so if you guys have any ideas that we have not had on why you might sell something for cheap, we'd love to hear that. Because, like I said, mine boiled down to those main couple of reasons. Do you have anything else to say on that point? No, that's pretty good. But that does bring to mind, so how often have you sold something where you're barely making anything? Not often. So typically I am cheap. I think I've said this before. I will continue to say this. I am pretty cheap. So there are a couple of things that we've paid more for, but a lot of the things that I buy, I have an idea that I could get a significant more, amount for them, significantly higher amount for them. It has happened to me though, and this goes back to what I said a minute ago about the VHS tapes. They didn't go for much, and I didn't make a loss. I mean, I didn't figure in like gas costs, but when I picked these up, I also picked up other things. I got them at the bin, so I picked up things to sell and stuff for myself and all that. So I don't really even, at that point, the gas is negligible. But it hasn't happened often. There were a few times where we sold things for a few dollars. I made a couple of bucks on it. A lot of those things were typically things that were low value to begin with. So we sold
like your $5 to $10 range. Yeah, where you've sold a postcard or whatever, and so after shipping you make a few dollars, or a few other things. I could look it up, but small things that are small that don't, once you ship them, it's a couple of bucks of profit. Yeah. But I've never paid like $50 for a thing and sold it for $5 or something. Nothing like that. Anytime I've ever skimmed, it was always a low value item. So, how about you? Does this happen to you a lot? I've done it twice in particular, looking through my spreadsheet. Once, I picked up an old camcorder. It was actually 2 camcorders in this bag. And what happened was, one of them, I ended up having to refund the customer. I can't even remember why. I think it didn't work. Like, when I tested it, it worked. And then when they got it, they were like, it's not working. And they didn't have a way to validate it. And I was just like, it only sold for $10 plus shipping or something like that. It wasn't worth my time to argue. So I just said, whatever, it's fine. So I was already out of money for that one. And then the second one, between what it sold for, what I thought it was going to sell for. I thought it was going to sell for like $40. Instead, it only sold for about $15. How long did you have it listed? Oh, I had it listed for like 4 months. So it needed to go. It needed to go. And I had dropped the price down. And I didn't sell this one on eBay. I sold it on Mercari. And after the discount Mercari's fees plus the shipping, I made 79 cents.
No.
I was just like,
No.
great. But it was gone, done with.
You didn't lose.
I didn't lose technically, but I should have earned more. Especially, that was also factoring in that lost camera or damaged camera, just because I purchased both of them from the same bundle. It was like,
Did you get that camera back, the damaged one?
No, because Mercari's a little obnoxious to deal with. That can be its own other video. Oftentimes when an item is disputed, the customer is always right, and you as a seller get kind of wafted away, and the issue gets dissolved before you can even finish communicating what's going on. But that's for its own discussion another time.
So, back to my VHS tapes. I see your 79 cents,
Mm-hmm.
and I lower the bar.
Yeah.
To a whopping...
Sorry.
Okay, Siri thought I was talking to it. Okay. Shut up, Siri. Okay, that really caught the whole announcement. But anyway, I lower the bar to a whopping 15 cents on 8 VHS tapes.
Yay!
But I didn't lose.
You didn't lose.
I paid probably about a quarter a piece for each of those, so that right there was, a couple of bucks.
Mm-hmm.
eBay fees, shipping costs, because the value just wasn't there. So by the time, I can't remember, I might have even taken an offer on it. I wanted them gone, as I said. So 15 cents, guys. Don't make that your goal. But hey, I didn't lose.
And back to taking an offer, I had another thing where I took an offer, not factoring the cost of the fees when I took in the offer.
Was it on eBay?
That was another Mercari sale.
Oh, okay. Are Mercari fees as bad as eBay's?
They're a little worse.
Really?
eBay. Yeah, they're higher than eBay.
Holy moly.
It's
because I think eBay runs away with your money. But
a little bit, but eBay, what do you say? Probably about 20%.
That's high. I don't know. It's 13%, but they take it on shipping too. Which
they take it on shipping.
Iffy.
So realistically, it's probably like 15%. When not factoring in promoted listings.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
But I think Mercari was like 20 or 25% because they have a listing fee plus a selling fee.
And you still find it worthwhile to?
Not very often. Sometimes certain things. Most of my Mercari stuff was pre-eBay when I was like, I need to sell stuff, and Mercari was just simple because. But that for another video. I'll talk about Mercari another time.
So you didn't factor in these high fees.
I didn't factor in the fees, and I took an offer just to get it gone, and it was like $4, which whatever. I only had like 50 cents into what I had. I only profited 78 cents.
You like to squeak in here at the 70s.
Those are the only two I had where it was 70s most of the time.
But you didn't take a loss.
I didn't take a loss.
So try not to take a loss, guys.
Yeah,
at least get your money back. That's like for me. Obviously, I want to make a profit, and I want to make a good profit. But my ultimate if I can't make a good profit, I at least want to recoup my money. Yep. So
taking a loss consistently, because it happens from time to time. Either, you sell something and then you have to refund the customer and get the item back, and by then it's like, man, I paid for the shipping to return it. I'm out by an extra $5, and then when you do get it back, it turns out the customer's right. It is broken. Mm-hmm. So stuff like that happens, but consistently selling items and then taking a loss is just being punched. But
yeah, it sucks. But don't fall into the fallacy of keep putting time and money and energy into something that's just not worth it. Yeah. Cut your losses, walk away, take your 15 cents.
Yeah.
Don't buy that thing again.
Mm-hmm. Actively avoid whatever caused you to only take 15 cents.
And I think, too, that's another point, and maybe we can talk about that later, but it's, especially if you're new, like I said, my sister and I are in the under year mark, so we're pretty new sellers. It's going okay. We need to really make a push now here at the end of the
Hey,
year. But
you're in the last 3 months of the year where people spend the most
That's
money.
true. So we're still in the new phase, and I think if you're new to this, don't be discouraged that you're not making a full-time living or a part-time living or $100 a week even. It takes time, and you can use that first 6 months, first year to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be buying VHS tapes to sell on the lot again because I didn't do well on them and I regretted buying them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can learn. It's a really good time to learn what you like to sell, what sells well, what doesn't sell well, finding niches. Like, you can use it as a learning experience, I think.
Yeah.
But try not to lose any money if you can help it.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else to say to either of these 2 points?
No.
Okay.
Not necessarily. So, for our next segment, we wanted to talk about surprising sales again. And these are mainly the items that either sell faster than what we expected them to, or sell for a larger profit than what we were expecting. Just so that way we can talk about things that you might want to look for when you're out sourcing materials.
So do you want to start this, or do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
So early on, like the very first month after we had opened our eBay store, I think we opened it, I don't think it was quite mid-April, but it was pushing mid-April when we opened it. And early on at my time, actually going to the bins too. That's about the time I started shopping the Goodwill bins. I haven't been in a while, so I need to get back there. But I picked up Harvest Right tray dividers. And a lot of people probably don't know what Harvest Right is. It's a home freeze dryer company. So they make, I don't know, they're small enough that you can have them in your home to freeze dry your own goods. Usually used by people who maybe have large gardens or homesteaders, those kinds of types. And I knew about it from watching YouTube videos of people who had them. And I don't personally have one right now. But I was at the bins and I saw this roll of, they were green, bright green, and they were wrapped in tape, and they had a handwritten, like on a piece of paper, somebody had wrote what they were. Harvest Right tray dividers. And I was like, I know what Harvest Right is. And the freeze dryers themselves are quite expensive, and these I think were an aftermarket tray divider. So they were plastic with notches, and they sort of like made a grid so you could divide whatever you were freeze drying. Probably if you're freeze drying maybe 2 different kinds of things or something. And anyway, I snagged them, and they didn't cost me very much. I think maybe a few dollars by weight, because it was a big wad of plastic.
Yeah.
But they sold for, I think after fees and everything, we probably made 50-ish bucks. And they sold within, I believe, 2 weeks of listing, because I sold them in April.
That's good.
And we started our store in April.
Yeah.
And it was a really big encouragement, because it was like a big sale, like right out the gate. Yeah. It was one of the first few things that we sold. So that was fun, and you just never know. It's a random thing. Probably a lot of the people at the bins wouldn't have even known what they were. Right. So.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have
Yeah, you'd have looked for it, even like it's a wad of plastic. What is that, you know? And I just happened to know because I knew the name, and so I had an idea what they were. Yeah. But yeah, that was a big encouragement. And like I said, sold pretty quick.
That's neat. The most recent thing I've had, I picked up a huge lot of these vintage advertisement cups for fast food, and I took one of them home, or I took one of them out of the box. It was for 7-Eleven, some baseball advertisement. Listed it. It sold overnight for $10 plus shipping, and it was like I only had 15 invested in the entire box, and one of them sold just instantly, basically.
So less than a day. Like
it was like 6 hours, because it sold at around midnight. So it was just like, cool, awesome, and I have the rest of the box to go through. Sold a few more. Some of them, they're not selling as quickly as something like that, but you just never know. I don't know if I talked about it before on here, but I picked up for $1 a mug. It looked like Fozzie Bear.
Mm-hmm.
It sold for $20 in like 12 hours. Where it was just, buy it now. They bought it, paid for that and the shipping. And I would not have paid more than $1 for this cup because it was just...
If I'm being honest, there's a lot of things we've sold that I would not even come close to paying.
Right.
Some people will pay for.
Right. It's crazy.
But you found the right buyer. That person, they were probably a collector.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted that thing.
Yeah.
Or they knew somebody that was. Who knows?
Something like that. So what I did, there were other ones listed. I listed mine $1 cheaper than everyone else's.
That was your strategy.
I just said, there's
That's
a lot
funny.
of them listed. $1 cheaper. And it sold. And so when it comes to cups and mugs, I haven't sold a ton of mugs in particular, but I've sold enough. Always make sure you're charging your customer shipping because they're heavy.
Yeah. And they're glass.
So you got to add a lot of extra packing material.
Yep.
But the weird ones sells. The ones that say weird things or are shaped weird, you get them for 50 cents or $1. You pick it up, list it, they sell. It's weird.
I sold a mug that was like I got it for like $1 at an estate sale. It was really cute, and I thought it was one of those things like, I don't need it, It was cute though, and if I hadn't sold, I would have kept it. But it was like black cats mostly with like one cat face. I think it was a Japanese brand or something. Very cute. I sold that on eBay too for 10-ish. You'd be surprised. I mean, they sell if they're in good condition. They have to be in good condition. This one was in really nice condition. I assume Fozzie was too.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. Mugs especially. $10 is a very consistent price point. $10 plus the 5 or 6 whatever it is for shipping it. But they're weird. I wouldn't always pick them up though.
It depends on what they are.
It depends on what it is. Like, Starbucks is another one. It's good to pick up.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that? Starbucks mugs, especially the older ones.
Uh-huh. Like the Christmas ones and stuff?
Because people collect them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's a collector for everything.
There's a collector for everything. All the time. There's somebody out there collecting it.
I guess it makes sense because there are weirder things that people collect. But I would not have thought to pick up an old... particularly because they're mass-produced.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. But
interesting.
You can get Starbucks mugs for like $1. And they will sell for $15 to $20.
Now you know. The more you know.
This is one of those things.
Look for cool mugs.
Yeah.
Also, if you think it's cool, someone else probably will too.
Yes. Almost always.
Especially if you have quirky taste.
Mm-hmm.
It may take a minute to find the buyer, but there will be a buyer that has your taste.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, do you have anything else? I have one more that I could...
No, go ahead.
So, I would say this one actually made an appearance on our previous videos. If you've seen our other videos, there was a spittoon that was sitting up here. It was like a brass... It was a vintage Bulldog cut plug tobacco spittoon. Like, it was a legit spittoon. You couldn't tell in the video, but it was heavy. Weighted bottom. I paid like $6.35 for that at the chain thrift store. Large chain thrift store. And I knew, I had looked it up online, so I knew that some of them sold. Some of them sold for more than what I sold mine for. But I was able to sell within the same month I listed it.
That's nice.
And it sold for $62.14 after the fees and shipping. So we profited $50-some on that.
Yeah.
And it's less than a month.
And that's one of those factors when you are listing things. You've got to factor how many of them are selling, for what price range, what are you going to be satisfied getting?
Yep.
And with actual turnaround.
Yeah, and it was large. I mean, you can see in the videos. It's big. You saw it. It's yay high. I was happy because of the margin there. Mm-hmm. It would have been different if I had paid $30 for it or something, but I didn't. So that was kind of fun. I always like things that sell quickly. I wish I could remember. I had a few things that sold almost as soon as we listed them, like within the next day or two. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't think off the top of my head what those were. But every once in a while, you'll get something like, geez, I'm glad we listed it today because I found that buyer immediately.
Right. And I don't know about you, but I find that when I'm actually being consistent and uploading new stuff every day, it feels like my older listings get pushed.
I think they do
to the search rankings, because I'll have where I am actively listing things, and stuff I've had listed for a couple weeks start selling as I'm listing things.
I have noticed that if we list more consistently, we can make more sales. And it's like you said, it's not just the stuff we've just listed.
Yeah.
It'll be something. So I think you're right. I think there's something in the algorithm there that it rewards you for being... This is particularly eBay specific.
Yes.
I don't know about the other sites, but it does seem like that's the case. That like if it starts to get a lull and then you spend a couple of days and you start listing, all of a sudden you're getting...
Yeah, you're getting the rest of it pushed as, oh, here... You've got these things listed too. Let's show it to people. I don't know if that's because I put the promoted listing for all my listings. I don't know if that's a factor or if it's just eBay
rewarding you.
Cultivates those other listings. So.
Let us know if you've had surprising sales, things that blew you away. These were just small examples. I wish I could have thought like a couple of those things that were like really surprising, but we'd love to hear what your weird things or things that you listed and they were gone immediately. Or about the search ranking thing. Do you guys notice that your stuff starts to sell when you list more versus listing less? Those of you who are really go-getters and are listing tons of things every week, I would love to know if you find that that's a different thing than when you list less as well.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
That'd be interesting to find out. Go ahead and let us know down in the comments. Or if you had any other questions, go ahead and leave them down there too. We'd love to address them soon.
We would. Thank you so much for joining us again for Secondhand Sellers.
See ya.